So, what is the diploma in fine jewellery? It is, in a nutshell, it is 1 year to become a fine jeweler. And this was always my dream when I started jewellery making. I knew that I wanted to make fine jewellery. And fine jewellery is anything that involves precious metals like gold, not semi-precious like silver, but precious. So the golds, the platinums, things like that would all be considered fine. So you can make something quite simple in gold, and that would technically be fine jewelry. But generally speaking, because we're working in gold, we also elevate everything else that we're doing. So often it involves gemstones and stone setting. Often it also involves kind of quite technical pieces because, you know, we're spending a lot more money because we're buying gold as the customer. So usually we want something a little bit special. And the idea behind this course is to train you in the techniques that you'll need to become a fine jeweler. Of course, you know, being a fine jeweler, like anything, is a lifelong endeavor, and there's always new skills to learn and new things to develop. But with the tools and kind of the toolkit of skills you get here, you will have what you need to kind of get started on that path and progress. So it starts from an intermediate level, and it is quite a high level. So it's not someone who's just done like an evening course. I probably wouldn't recommend going straight onto the fine. So if we keep in mind that most people doing the fine jewelry diploma have done a year's worth of training with us already, and we've geared this that for people who have done, you know, recently done a year of at least 7 hours a week. But if you feel like you've done quite a few years and you've built up a lot of the skills, then this might be a nice place for you to start as well. And we're going through to advanced level by the end. It really is, you know, we're really kind of pushing you guys and getting you there. But, you know, everyone who does it has just had amazing experiences and said that it wasn't easy, but it's moved their skill set on so much. And actually, just a quick heads up, we have a podcast coming out on Monday with Emily, who's one of our previous Fine Diploma students, and she talks about her jewelry business journey, but also the Fine Diploma. So if you want to hear from, you know, someone who's done it, that might be a nice thing to look at as well. So hello and welcome. I think probably lots of you have met me before, but if you haven't, I'm Jess and I'm the founder of Jewelers Academy. I started my jewelry business when I was 19, which is a long, long time ago now. And I started making and selling jewelry. Then I began teaching, which eventually turned into the London Jewelry School, which became one of the world's largest jewelry training centres, where we trained over 40,000 jewellers in person in classes. And that's where the diplomas started from. We started teaching these in-person diplomas. And then when COVID came, we had all these diploma students that were in the middle of diplomas, and we were like, we need to help them. We need to help them keep going. And that's when the online diplomas started. And they've really just grown from there. And it started with a diploma in silver jewelry, which is the 1 year course. And then, you know, as the students were coming to the end, they were like, we want to do something next. So we created the fine diploma. And then there is the 3rd year, which is the advanced diploma. I couldn't be prouder of all of these courses. They are just incredible trainings, and seeing what students do and the businesses they go on to create and the skills that they develop is just incredible. So we'll be talking more about that as we go through today. So quick question for you guys. I'd love to know, what one jewelry making technique would you like to learn this year? I know it's a hard question because there's probably lots of techniques you'd like to learn, but is there anything in particular you feel like, oh, I'd really like to have a go at, I don't know, collet setting, or I'd like to work with shaped stones, or I'd really like to make lockets, or, you know, anything. Feel free to come and share in the chat, and I'll have a look if any of your answers come in, because I think it is good to start thinking about, what do we want to learn? Sue wants to learn pave. Love that, Sue. That one's actually in the advanced diploma, but I love the goal because why not? Izzy, wax carving. Oh, absolutely love wax carving. We have a couple of wax carving elements in this course as well. Alex wants to do star setting and more gold. Amazing. We definitely have star setting covered for you, and lots of gold. Natalie, multi-stone setting. Yes, love that too, because it's one thing to set one stone, but to set quite a few in the same piece is like, I learned when I first started doing multiple stone settings. I thought it would just be a bit harder, but I found it a lot harder because there's a lot more to consider. But obviously everything is, achievable. Brilliant. So you guys are kind of sharing, which is awesome. So what we'll be covering tonight is a bit more about what the diploma is, the level of support available, also the projects. So I'm going to talk through each of the projects and give you a little taster of what kind of things you'll make on this course. We'll look at some of the tutors and the mentors and also answering questions. And actually, it'd be great to know in the chat any of you who are currently on the silver diploma. Maybe you can say yes. Yes, me, guilty. Because there will be some bits that are similar in terms of how it's structured, but obviously the projects will all be different. Elaine wants to learn lockets for sure and embedding jewels into a ring shank. Awesome. Catherine is on the diploma. Amazing. And Cindy, welcome. Lovely. I hope you guys are enjoying your gold, your wedding rings. 9 carat gold is interesting to work to. Alex is on it as well. Yes, so what is the diploma? It is a 1-year course. It's very flexible learning, so you can do it, anytime you like throughout the week. We structure it over 3 terms. So we start in September. So if you sign up now, you'll kind of start your payment plans and get your tools and materials, and there's lots of kind of prep to do. But come September will be, the first week where you'll be actually making and starting with things. And then it runs until around Christmas time, and you get a break over Christmas, and then you're back for the term in January through to Easter. Then again, you have a break, and you kind of have from Easter through to the summer. And July and August are kind of off as well. So it follows roughly the school year here in the UK. And we recommend putting aside at least 1 day a week, but it's very flexible when you do that. So for some people, they'll say Wednesday is the day. For other people, it might be like an hour each day, or a morning here, an afternoon there. Some people have different ways of structuring it. For example, they might watch the video on a Monday evening and then start making on a Wednesday morning and then finish off on the Saturday. So, it's entirely up to you kind of how you structure that time, but it is weekly. So you get videos released weekly. Usually some of the projects are a couple of weeks long, so you'll have the videos for a couple of weeks. You'll also have ongoing access to everything, but we do recommend trying your best to keep up with the weeks as you go, and we'll be here to kind of cheer you on and support you with that. So it's for intermediate to advanced skills for jewelers, and it's really for jewelers looking to expand a business or they're making and take on kind of more high-end commission-based work or working in the trade. So if you've been making and selling jewelry for a while, but you'd really like to be able to branch out into more kind of either the bridal, engagement ring, wedding ring market, or perhaps you want to do one-off commission pieces and feel really confident that you can kind of cater to most of the things that will come up in that. It's usually a slightly different business model where we are selling less quantity of pieces and higher, I guess, skill level. I wouldn't say quality, because you can have good quality everywhere, but higher kind of skill level, which is a really nice kind of business to run and is often the way a lot of jewelers go eventually. So this is the first diploma in fine jewellery, which we are very proud of, and it's completely online and remote learning. There's also a complete material kit, which you can choose to buy. And we do recommend getting it because it just makes life so much easier for you guys. And the lovely team in our warehouse put it all together. And it's all done by jewelers. So it's a really nice kind of package as well. And this is all the materials that you need to make your projects throughout the course, except your final project, which is you choose what you want to make that out of. And there's also little bits of extra and bits of scrap, that you can kind of play around with too. If you feel like you've already got lots of the materials, you can of course buy your own, and we give you a full list of what you need. Tool wise, we don't offer a toolkit for the fine diploma because most of the tools you will probably have by this stage. If you've done the diploma in silver jewelry, you will have had a complete toolkit. 90% of the tools are going to be the same, but we have made a list of the things that you need on top of the basic toolkit in the silver diploma. So if you're coming to us new and you've not done any diplomas, you can have a look at the silver diploma toolkit. and have a look at the Fine additional toolkit, and that will be kind of cover everything you need. And the Silver Diploma toolkit is all the general kind of bench tools. And the main addition for the Fine Diploma is a pendant motor. And we recommend you have this. It's not absolutely essential, but I would say you really should, because it's going to make your life easier. And if you're making fine jewelry, this is going to be one of the best investments you ever make, to buy this tool. If you don't have it already, it will help you with your stone setting, your polishing, all sorts of things. Yeah, it's just, you'll be very happy together, you and the tool. So it's a good purchase. But we do have limited material kits, so we always encourage people to order them kind of earlier rather than later, because we usually run out and we don't like to disappoint people, but we have to order them about a year before. So we have to guesstimate. So it just really helps us and you guys if you can kind of get ahead on that. So in terms of how you will learn, you will have weekly lessons which are released. So like I said, with the Fine Diploma, especially, some of the courses are like a couple of weeks long, but generally speaking, each week or every couple of weeks, there'll be a lesson which is released. And these are professionally filmed courses which are filmed by a 3-person minimum film crew. So there's at least 3 different camera angles. And we are very proud of the fact that you kind of see real close-up details and really be able to understand how the piece is made, even better, I think, than, an in-person class. Of course, there are benefits to in-person classes, and we taught those for a long time, and we still love those. But one of the great things about online is the level of detail you're able to see when you kind of, focus on something that is blown up 20, 40 times the size. And also the benefit of being able to kind of like go back, rewind, watch it again, and get that information kind of available to you when you need it. So people sometimes ask how long the weekly lessons are, and they do vary, but I would say roughly an hour, and they're broken down into chapters. So you can kind of go in and find the bit that you need and, work through it in that way. And a lot of people will watch the full lesson and then go back and kind of make alongside it afterwards. But it's entirely up to you kind of how you feel comfortable consuming that content. So as well as that, that's the kind of teaching element of the course that you'll have every week. You have fortnightly Zoom calls with your Zoom group. So this is like your crew. And this is a really important part of the course for me. It's the community. It's where you're going to connect with other jewelers. It's where you're going to share the troubles that you're going through, as well as the successes. It's where you'll potentially make friends. There's loads of benefits of being part of the Zoom groups. They're not essential for kind of, completing the diploma, but we definitely notice that people that come along to them and use them really kind of do really well in the course, and of course stay the course of it. So it will be with a mentor. So you will have a mentor who is there every fortnight with you. And it's just a really nice space to be able to pick up extra like tips and tricks and say, oh, I tried this that it said in the video, but I actually had this reaction. What would you recommend? And your mentor will be able to kind of support you with that. So as well as those kind of community groups every fortnight, you have 6 one-to-ones with a mentor. So at the beginning of the course, you are assigned one of our incredible mentors. They are all very experienced jewelers and very giving with their knowledge. So you'll have your mentor, and you'll work with them throughout the year. So 6 sessions. So you'll have 3 what I call midterms, which are in roughly the middle of each term, which is kind of like an informal check-in with your mentor. It's a time to get to know them. It's a time to ask them questions about anything that's going on in the course and kind of get support as well. And then you'll also have your marking one-to-ones. So there are 3 of those. So at the end of each term, you send your precious work off to us in London, and we have people all over the world who send their work to us. So don't worry, wherever you're based, we can help support you with how to get your work to us. So that comes to us in London. We send it to your mentor, and they kind of see and touch and have your work in front of them, and they will give you marks for different things. I'll talk a bit about the marking criteria in a moment, and then you will have that feedback on Zoom where they'll be able to say, these are the things you did really well in this piece, and if you want to improve it, this is what I would suggest that you work on next, whether it's like you need to work a bit on the filing, or something to do with the finishing, or the stone wasn't quite straight and this is a trick to be able to adjust it. So I think that kind of feedback element of it is really beneficial part of the course, because you've got someone who's been there and done it before and has the experience who can kind of pass on that knowledge as well. So it really is a very kind of immersive program, and those of you doing the diploma at the moment will kind of know how that goes. It's exactly the same structure. Then, of course, there's the Fine Diploma Facebook group. So you'll have, for your year group, you'll have your own Facebook group with everybody who is going through the course at the same time as you. And that is your kind of 24/7 access, that if you're in the middle of making something and something goes wrong or something goes right and you want to share about it, that is the place to go. And other people on the course will be able to comment and help and support you. And I think one of the amazing things about the Fine Diploma is everyone's already got experience. So, and it's a very supportive community. We never judge anyone for asking a question. No such thing as a silly question, we say. And you can come and get support from your peers. But that is also staffed 6 days a week, the Facebook group. So Monday through to Saturday, we have Jewelers Academy team in there. So they will also be answering your questions and giving you support. If you do post first thing on a Sunday, it may take us till Monday to get back to you. But yeah, I think you'll have the community there as well in the meantime. So pretty much there's support in all these different ways whenever you need it. So just a quick recap of how it works is you have these weekly lessons. They come with full course notes, which you can download as a PDF. So that's kind of all the additional information if you prefer to look at something and see it written down. They're all professionally filmed and everything is provided, and you'll have lifetime access to those. And I think that's something that was really important to us when we created the course, is this lifetime access, because some of the pieces that you'll make, for example, like a tennis bracelet, we were sharing about it on our Instagram today, and it's like you might not make that again for quite a few years, and then someone may come along and say, actually, I want you to make me a tennis bracelet, and you think, gosh, I did that once back in my course, but how did I do it? You can always log in years from now and just check in and say, okay, great, I can follow along as if it was yesterday. And I've actually done that myself quite a few times with a project that I've not done for a while, just put the video up and had it going on in the background while I was making, and it's amazing how many things you can kind of pick up on. Then, like I mentioned, those twice weekly Zoom sessions or Q&A sessions with your tutor group, where you can kind of ask questions, get that accountability. So we'll be checking up and, how's it going? What, kind of get to know each other, and also that sort of support. And then those one-to-ones, which are one in the middle of each term and a marking one, which is usually at the beginning of the following term, because by the time your work has got to us and the mentor's marked it, we'll give you kind of, how the one-to-one sessions work is, once we've assigned you a mentor, when it's time for your mentor sessions coming up, we'll give you what's called a Calendly link, which is a link to their calendar, and you can go ahead and book times that work for you. And we tend to match mentors based on time zones. So if we have a mentor, for example, who's usually available in the evenings, we will ask you before you start the course, when are you usually available? We might say, okay, we're going to match because you're an evening person. Or if you only have availability during like school hours, because that's when the kids are at school, then we will match you with someone who's available during the day, and same with weekends and things like that. And then, the Facebook group I already talked about, and as well as kind of, it being a place where you can post things and share things. We often ask little questions and do little check-ins to kind of build community and kind of engagement there as well. So you really do feel part of something. I think one of the things that I didn't want people to feel learning online is that they're not part of a group, part of like a crew and a team. And the really nice thing, which I've seen happen time and time again with our Zoom groups in particular, is people often, exchange numbers, exchange Instagrams, end up chatting to each other kind of all the time, meeting up, going to jewelry events together, even if they're quite far away from each other. There's often kind of things that you can do. So it can be a really nice place to build those real kind of networking connections, I suppose. So, a little bit about the mentors and the tutors on this course, because they really are incredible, and we are incredibly lucky with the kind of caliber that we are able to get. And, our students kind of feel the same, thankfully. So, one of your tutors on the course is the incredible Hayley Kruger. Hayley has been a bench jeweler for over 20 years. We've worked together for over 10 years. She's taught hundreds of students at the London Jewellery School when we had the premises there. And she has been with us all the way through with the diplomas online. So she teaches some of the courses, and you will get access to those throughout the course. And you can see just one of her incredible pieces there. So she does a lot of fine jewellery, a lot of kind of engagement rings and commissions. And she's just such a lovely lady. Anyone who knows Hayley just knows she has such a lovely heart, very supportive, and yeah, she just has a way of making everyone feel great. She's a great teacher, great teacher and great person. I won't be able to tell you much about all of the tutors because we kind of would need a whole extra hour for each of them, but I'm just going to run through them briefly. Some of them, there's more as well. So April Dace, who has actually just joined our team in the last couple of years, but she is incredible. And she, is a goldsmith. You can see one of her rings there, really incredible kind of skill level, but so down to earth, so supportive, so friendly. And she is going to be mentoring on the program. So she will be supporting lots of the jewelers through this course as well. I know she's very excited to get started and kind of support people. Then we have the amazing Barbara Yard. Lots of people know Barbara because she's done courses with us since we started Jewelers Academy, just like Hayley. So she's done courses in all of the diplomas. Barbara loves working with gold in particular. That's kind of one of her specialist areas. Little bits of stone setting as well. And again, just such an open, friendly, bubbly kind of, she just makes everything seem simple. When Barbara says how to do it, you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. She doesn't overcomplicate things. So she's a really nice tutor to learn from. And I think she really believes in people as well. She'll never tell someone not to do something. She's like, go for it, So that kind of can-do attitude is really important in our team as well. Then we have the incredible Anelia Caprina. Anelia is one of the tutors on the course, so she does a few of the projects as well, which I'll talk about as we go through. And Anelia's skills just always amaze me. She also teaches and mentors on the advanced diploma. A couple of these mentors do, and you can see some of her work there. She's worked for years in the Hatton Garden workshops, which is quite a hard graft, but she is just incredibly resilient in what she's able to do. There's pretty much any project I go and say, Anelia, can we teach this? She's like, sure. When do you want it, Jess? So she's just amazing. And again, so friendly and so supportive. And then finally, and I say finally, but there are some more, but I just, wanted to pick a few to go through to show kind of the diversity of the group. The incredible Michael Malloy. Michael teaches at Central St. Martin's, and he's been teaching jewelry making for as long as I can remember, and he does a lot of really incredible work with sort of high-end fashion jewelry. So you can kind of see one of his pieces on a catwalk kind of model there, and he does lots of really cool projects, like he does things on music videos for celebrities, but he's very again, very supportive, very encouraging, very conceptual is how I would describe him, in terms of he's always asking our students to think of different ways of coming up with designs. Design is really kind of key for him as well, but also has great technical ability and just a very lovely person. We only let lovely people on, and I think that's fair enough. We only want to learn jewelry from lovely people. And thankfully, most jewelers are quite happy with what they do, because we get to work with lovely, sparkly things all day. So in terms of what skills you need before enrolling on this diploma, you need to be able to do a variety of stone settings already. So you need to feel confident with cabochon setting, with tube settings, with flush setting. Also, you need to have done at least one round collet setting successfully, because we're starting straight with shaped collets. And we also ask that you've done at least one basic course setting. And the more that you've done these settings, the easier it will be to move on. And I guess what we're saying is we're not going to cover any of these. We will assume you know them, then we'll be building on from there. And these are all covered in the diploma in silver jewellery. We also want you to be really confident with your soldering and be able to solder a minimum of 3 solder joints in one piece with confidence, without kind of anyone saying, this is how you do it. Of course, we can always recap things and bits and pieces, but generally speaking, we want you guys to be at the right level so that you enjoy the course, so that you get the most out of the course, and so that when we start telling you to do a piece with 7 solder joins, it is challenging, but you've done 3 already, so it's kind of just building. Then the general stuff of kind of soaring, filing, polishing, and knowing your way around a jewelry workshop. We're not going to cover the basics because we assume you'll know those, and that allows us to really kind of focus on the next level of skills. And we also recommend that you have some experience of wax carving. So you've done like a beginner's wax carving course, so that, you know, if we're, again, when we go into the wax carving, we're not going to cover this is the wax and, you know, the basics of working with wax. We're kind of moving forwards. So like I said, it was really made to follow on from the diploma in silver jewelry. So if you look at that curriculum and you feel like you could do it all, then this is a good place to kind of start. And if there are any gaps, but you feel like you can do most of it, then we have lots of individual courses that you can sign up to if you just want to kind of fill in a couple of gaps. But if you look at it and you feel like I can't do 50% of it, I would still encourage you to go back and do the silver diploma, because it is not a beginner's course by any means. I mean, we start with beginners, but it really does ramp up. And we have found that it's better for people to do something that's the right level and feel really confident in what they're doing, rather than go too high and then feel disheartened if, you know, if they're not able to keep up or they don't really understand. But if you have any kind of question or worries at all, then definitely feel free to get in touch with us. We can probably help you decide. All right, let's have a little look at the curriculum. So term 1, lots of juicy things in term 1. So we start off with a really lovely project which combines 2 techniques, which is reticulation, which is the process of getting that textured look across the metal, and also kaembu, which is the ancient Korean technique of adding a small thin layer of gold on top of silver. And it's a really lovely way of adding detail to pieces. It's also a really nice way to add gold to your silver without having to have like a lot of gold. So it's quite affordable. And you'll make a pair of stud earrings and a ring. So as well as working with the reticulation and the kaembu, you kind of have a bit of practice of working on those silver skills as well if you've not done anything for a little while. Then we are into our first week of stone setting, and this is a practice week. So you'll be doing claw setting practice. So you'll practice making a round claw, you'll make an oval claw, a pear claw, and a cushion cut claw. And these don't need to be made into pieces unless you want to, but we just want to see that you've made one of each so that you're learning all those different skills. And then the following week, we're going to put it into a pair of earrings. So you'll be doing a pair of earrings with 4 settings. You can choose the design, but using the skills that you practiced the week before, it kind of goes into an earring. And actually, I've got one of the pieces here. You probably can't see it because my screen's probably too small, but this is a bracelet that Stelios made from that course. So with those skills, you could, you know, obviously it's earrings for this project because we didn't want it to take like 7 weeks, but you could do, you know, bracelets, necklaces, or whatever. So there's loads of things you can do with all these different shapes of claw setting. Then week 4 is the pear-shaped collet. I love a pear-shaped collet. So you can choose to do a ring or a pendant. So like we said, before you start the course, and in the silver course, you do a round collet. So I think silver diploma guys won't have done one of those yet, but it is such a lovely project to be able to set kind of a brilliant cut stone in a lovely round, thick bezel setting. It's not really bezel, it's collet, but they're both rub over settings. So now we're moving on and doing a shaped one. So this is a really lovely week. And you, like I said, you'll be making either a pendant or a ring like the ones in the pictures. And then we move on and you'll do what we call a totem pendant. So this is 3 different types of collet setting. So you'll do a square, an oval, and a pear. So the oval is not that dissimilar to the round. You've already done the pear from the week before, and then we're adding the square one on. So you've got 2 weeks to do this because it is a little bit more involved. And of course, there's some more complexity because you've got some solder joins and things, and you're making a whole complete strand. So again, just developing and building on those skills from previous weeks, but kind of adding on and making it a little bit more complex. Then we have something a little bit different because your hands may be a bit sore from all that stone setting. So we move on to some rendering. So this is basically painting fine jewelry. So when you work as a fine jeweler, sometimes it can be really nice to do a rendering of the work before you create it. It can be a nice additional service to offer people, but it's also a lovely way to show what it is you're making, especially as you get more and more expensive pieces, thousands of pounds. Somebody might want to see, a nice picture of it before they commit, and, the sizing and everything. But it is also just such a lovely thing to do. It's so relaxing, and, just being able to do that painting. So you do not need to have great technical drawing skills for this because we give you the outlines of the drawings, but Anelia teaches this class and she shows us how to do a painting for a ring and a pendant, and how to do kind of different types of stones like cabochons, fancy cuts, all those things. So a really lovely kind of way to explore a different area that's relevant to fine jewelry making, but just has kind of a slightly different feel to it. And then week 9, we are looking at finding making. So something that was really important when we were putting together this course is you can learn all the most incredible stone settings and, technical things in the world. But if your findings are just things that you bought from the shop, it's going to really lower the tone of the piece. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure we've got some beautiful findings. So in this week, you will learn how to make your own scroll back earrings. So you'll learn how to do the scroll, the butterflies, and you will learn how to, kind of work with the pearls and make a pearl cup. So you have this kind of complete project of these pearl earrings. Then you'll also learn some different types of clasps that you could do, some cufflinks and how you could use the chain. So there's quite a lot of mini projects in this week, but essentially it's showing you some really nice findings that you can use on earrings, necklaces, bracelets, cufflinks, so that you can kind of elevate the whole of your jewelry, not just the beautiful settings and things that we're working on throughout the program. Then for week 10, which is kind of the final teaching week of term 1, you'll do something called the Gemstone Masterclass. So this is a class where we're learning about gemstones, because obviously we're setting lots of stones in this course. And when we are working as fine jewelers, our customers will expect us to have a knowledge of gemstones. And it's important when we're choosing settings and things like this that we know, oh, this stone is quite soft, so it's better to have like a certain type of setting. This stone can withstand a different type of setting. This stone works better in this design, and so on and so forth. So this is taught by a wonderful tutor called Fiona Haynes, and she is a GIA certified, I can't remember what they're called, gemologist. I was going to say gemstone person. Slap my wrist for that. Gemologist, but she's also a jeweler, and she's also a gemstone cutter. So she's got such a vast array of expertise. And of course, it's only 1 week. I feel like she could teach us forever about gemstones, but she covers in quite great detail things about lots of different colored stones, a little bit about diamonds, and just enough really for us to know what we need to know to be able to create these pieces, to create pieces for clients, and be able to advise them on what stones will work well and where. Then at the end of each term, we have a workshop week and a business Q&A. So this is a week for you to kind of check all the things you've done, quickly give them a little polish, finish off any pieces, or if you had a week off at some point for half term or whatever, you can catch up on that week, and then get your pieces ready to send off to us for marking. And we also have a business Q&A at the end of each week to kind of talk about jewelry businesses together, and you can come and bring any questions, and often, I'll be there with some thoughts anyway about things that might help with your jewelry business as you're going through the program. So that's term 1. Come and let me know if you guys are still with me. I'm gonna have a sip of water, so just let me know in the chat. If you're still here. It's a lot of information to go in, I know. But two more terms to go. Natalie's still here. Whoop, whoop. Okay, great. Love it, Natalie. Jetta's still here. Oh, I might say your name wrong. Colgit is still here. Great. Three of us are still here. And Amy. No, I'm just teasing. Okay, so term two, we are starting with some wax carving. So this is called Advanced Stone Setting in Wax. So in the Silver Diploma, students have done a wax carving workshop where they made like a ring and a pendant, and then they will have done, or they'll be working on very soon, a stone setting and wax course where they learn to set a cabochon and a fancy cut stone. So we're kind of assuming that you can already do that, and we're not going to cover any of those things. So we're moving on to some more advanced stone setting in wax. So you will be making a piece that has a parve-like setting. So it looks like parve, but it's in wax. So it's not, you can't really call it parve because it's in wax, and technically parve is like a whole thing. But it looks very similar to parve. So it's lots of stones set side by side with each other. Actually, the picture here doesn't really show that project. It's kind of in the distance, it's a bit blurry, but it's a really beautiful technique. And you'll be setting lots of kind of small stones together in the wax. And it is cast in place. So we will be sending, or you can choose to send your pieces off if you want to. We'll be marking them in wax, but you can choose to send them off and get them cast into metal. You'll also be learning a channel-like setting, which is the one you can see in the picture here. So how to carve the channel in wax and set the stones. So two quite complex pieces, parve setting, channel setting, and also using cast in place. Stelios teaches this course. It's a wonderful course. He also teaches you how to do general cast in place stones with like granulated pieces. That isn't marked on the program, but it's a really lovely kind of additional project if you want to do it in your spare time. So really love this course, and there's so much you can do with it for any kind of wax carvers out there. And it's just great to kind of explore a different technique and a different way of setting stones that is, for some people a much better way. It really varies. I find that there are people who just love wax and they really, it really resonates with them. And there's others who are just like, nope, give me the metal every day. So you may find that there's something that you're more kind of natural with. If you haven't done wax carving before, you would definitely need to do some before you join this course. But we do have individual wax carving courses. So you could, if that's the only thing you haven't done, you could enroll in those and just work through them before September, and you'd be absolutely fine. The tennis bracelet. So weeks 3 to 5, you have a couple of weeks here. You'll be making a classic tennis bracelet. Dun, dun, dun. There's lots of links in a tennis bracelet and it's quite repetitive, but it is a really cool project. So this is kind of, I think of this as like a rite of passage for fine jewelers. In the olden days, if you were sat next to a million-old bench jeweler who was training you as their apprentice, they would definitely force you to make a tennis bracelet. So we're taking the place of that person. But we are a little bit kinder because you actually don't have to make the full tennis bracelet unless you want to. Some students have, and you're not penalized for not making the full tennis bracelet. The other option is we want you to make 6 links, which can either be as a pendant, like 6 in a row, or a pair of earrings with at least 3 on each. So you will be learning the technique for making a tennis bracelet. There's actually 2 different ways to do it. One involves riveting, one involves soldering, and you can choose which one you want to do, or you can experiment with both. And you'll also learn to set the stones, the kind of little square stones. You could do this in round as well, but we're getting you to do it in square because it's more challenging. And then, once you've done that, the round one will be easier. But we do care about you and we are your friend. Just remember that when you are doing the tennis bracelet. But no, it's absolutely fine. It's a really fun project. I think it's a lot to do the whole thing. But what some people have done as well is set 6 of the stones and told us which ones they've set, because we need to see that you've set 6 and then got a stone setter to set the rest. It's not cheating. It's not cheating. So there's lots of different ways around it, but a really lovely project. And what I think really excites me about these kind of projects and, all of the projects really is the portfolio that you're going to build. And the feedback that we've had from previous students is as you go through the course, if you're showcasing the work that you're doing, which we definitely encourage you to do on like social media and even to friends and family, people will want you to make stuff because it's very impressive. So the orders start coming in if they haven't already. And, it's just an incredible way to grow a business is through like the making and showing what you can do rather than necessarily, having to market things that, can sometimes feel a little less organic. So I think, the portfolio that you're building will really set you in good stead for whatever is next for you. So then we move on to maybe my favorites. Actually, I've got quite a few favorites. So yeah, one of my favorites, which is the Marquise 5 stone set rings. I think someone said they wanted to learn multiple stone settings. This is multiple stone settings for sure. So you're going to set 5 stones into one ring, and you're going to do a Marquise setting, which is a beautiful shaped setting, and it's quite different to other stone settings that we've done before. So I like to call it the boat because we kind of make a boat and then kind of squidge the ends. That's not the technical term for it, but you can kind of see in the pictures what I mean. And yeah, you'll learn how to do this beautiful kind of engagement style ring, and you'll also do some tube settings either side. But again, working with quite a lot of solder joins here, working with different shapes and sizes of stone, setting stones next to each other. So there's quite a lot of complexity in this piece, but it's a really lovely project. And just something gorgeous that you can make. And again, we teach you the project and you learn it on the course, but with this you could do so much. You could do a different type of Marquise ring or pendant or pair of earrings, or you could do a different type of 5 stone set ring. Once you've done one, you've kind of got those skills. So the versatility and where you can take it is really endless. Week 9 is the box clasp. So this, again, I feel like is a bit of a rite of passage, the box clasp. But it's also such a beautiful thing to learn, and it's quite constructive, it's kind of a bit more architectural, and it's kind of using some different skills. So you'll be making a box, and it is a clasp, and we have a little click sound when it goes well. So everyone's always listening out for the click, like, does it click? Because that means you've got the tension right in the piece. So it's kind of an advanced clasp making, and this might be used on something like, for example, if someone had a string of expensive pearls, they might put a box clasp on that, because you wouldn't want to put like a simple clasp on that could break, because those pearls. So this is an example of where you might use the box clasp. You could use one on a tennis bracelet. So it's something that you would put on a piece that has a lot of value to it already, but it makes the clasp a real feature. And once you know how to do a box clasp, you can kind of put stone settings in them, you can add K&B, you could do all sorts of kind of fun and funky things. So it's just a really nice way to kind of develop those making skills and the finding skills as well. Week 11, you make some Creole earrings. These are very kind of popular and fashionable at the moment, but essentially they are earrings with a hinge. So hoop earrings that have a hinge. So we teach you how to make the tiny little hinge. And in the silver diploma, we've already covered some basic hinge making, but this is a very small hinge, and it's done in a different way. So it's kind of taking the skills that you have and then building on them. So it's a really nice, this is another click project, when it goes down and it clicks, there's lots of clicking we've got to kind of be ready for. But you will work with kind of twisted wire. We're going to be working throughout this course. There are some projects where you're working with gold. The reason for that is it is a diploma in fine jewelry, and we want to make sure that you can work with gold as fine jewelers, but not every project is working with gold. So there's actually another similar earring that is taught on the course, which you get access to but are not marked on, which is another type of hinge where it's like hinged further down. So there's some little bonuses thrown in there as well for just additional things that you can come back to later, or if you've got a bit of spare time. Then we have our workshop week and our business Q&A to end the term before we move on to term 3. And I have to check you're still awake every term. So let me know in the chat if you're still with me. It keeps you fresh. It keeps you engaged. But hopefully all the juicy projects are also exciting. They always are to me. So term 3, no one's here. Oh, Jane is awake. Woohoo! You're keeping up. You're keep representing for everyone, Jane. Natalie's here as well and getting very excited. Oh, love it, Natalie. Oh yeah, lots of you guys are still here. Awesome. John is here. Catherine's here. So week 2, yeah. So term 3. We're getting serious. It's term 3. It's the final term. We're starting to use some gravers. So gravers are incredible tools to use for different types of stone setting. Of course, they're used for engraving, which is quite quite an involved technique as well. And, very sharp, but very precise tools. And it is wonderful that we can kind of introduce you to them and show you how to use them in a safe way to improve your jewelry making skills. So we're going to be looking at how we work with gravers, how we sharpen them, all these kind of things. You'll also get kind of access to ways to look after the tools and those kind of things. And we're going to do star setting. And I absolutely love star setting. There's a little picture actually in the one before. You can see a bit of a close-up. That is a star set pendant. And you'll also learn to set stars on a curve. So you'll be doing a bangle. And yeah, it's just such a beautiful setting and something a little bit different that we haven't covered yet. So that's a really nice one to kind of get going on. And before you go straight into the pieces, there's quite a lot of practice. So we ask you to submit practice squares where you've done like lots and lots of drilling, lots and lots of working with the grazers, lots and lots of slipping and getting it wrong, but not with your hand in the way, because we definitely want that out the way. So all these things are kind of covered, like the health and safety of how to work with them as well. But yeah, just a really lovely project to be able to get started and going on. Then we move on to some locket making. So something, again, a little bit more construction based, and you have 2 weeks to make a locket. And this is kind of a locket with a section inside, so you can put pictures in or you can put whatever you want inside. So it's a little bit more involved than again in the silver diploma we do it's not exactly a locket, we do like a book kind of hinge. So this is like a 3D locket, and you can make a circle one or an oval one, and you can add your own design elements to it. But we're kind of really working on the hinge and the construction of the inner circle and the outer circle. Again, just a really good way to develop all those fundamental skills like your soldering, working with the metals, so on and so forth. This may be my favorite one. I love all the rings with gemstones in, basically. I mean, I love it all, but I do love a shiny ring. So weeks 5 to 7, so you have 3 weeks for this one. And I think one of the things I love most about this is people are amazed that they can do it, because it is really done in a way where it's incremental learning and you build up to it. But this is our diamond cluster ring. You obviously don't have to make it with diamonds, but it's the kind of thing that could be made with diamonds, It looks like it could be made with diamonds. But we do like color, so we in the samples we did some colorful pieces. So it's kind of like a flower ring. So you cut out the flower, you've got a beautiful claw setting in the middle. You've got this whole range of tube settings on the outside. But what's really lovely, and you can't actually see in the picture, is the underside is a beautiful kind of construction of like a flower as well. So you're working with like an under bezel, a top plate, claw settings. There's all sorts of skills in this ring, and it is really such a beautiful piece to make. Yeah, love that one. Then we move on to week 8, which is something a little bit different, which is filigree for jewelers. So filigree is the process of working with wire, like very fine, often twisted wire, and you can kind of coil it and, shape it and solder it onto pieces, or, kind of attach it in different ways to create lovely different designs. It's used all over the world, and it's a really beautiful kind of decorative technique. Again, it's one of those things people either love or decide never to do again, but it is a lot of fun to experiment with, and it works really well with fine jewelry because it takes quite a lot of time. So generally speaking, if something takes a long time, we want to do it in more precious materials so we can charge more for it to make that time kind of worthwhile. So you'll do a couple of different types of filigree. You'll do filigree on a flat surface where you're soldering it to the back. You'll be doing filigree on a curved surface where you're soldering it to a curve. And you'll be doing backless filigree, which is filigree you can see in a couple of these pendants here where there's no backplate, and that one's slightly more advanced. So again, a wonderful way to kind of develop those skills. Then you have your final project week. So you will have been working on your final projects, fingers crossed, before this point, and we'll be talking with you about them from the beginning of the course, and it's something you can kind of think about. But you have a couple of weeks included in the term to start working on them. So you'll be making 3 pieces in a cohesive collection, and we want you to pick at least one technique that you've covered in the diploma to be the core part of the collection. So you may decide like you absolutely loved, I don't know, the claw setting at the beginning, and you want to make a 3-piece claw set collection. You only have a few weeks, but we also have a little bit of time before you submit your work at the end of term 3. So it is a bit more time depending on what you're doing with your summer holidays and stuff like that. But we give you all the deadlines and you can kind of work out what you can manage. Not all 3 pieces need to be super complex, but we just want to see, and we want you to have a finished mini collection at the end of the course that kind of represents what you really loved about what you're doing. Then you have a workshop week. So there's lots of weeks where you can make your final project and kind of get all those bits and pieces finished. And that, like I said, there's a bit more time at the end of term 3 before you send your work to us, but we'll give you all of those dates so you have them ready. And that is the curriculum. So there's a lot in there, lots of amazing things. We couldn't have squeezed any more in if we tried, but really just incredible projects. And I think, like I said before, what I'm most excited about it is just what you can do with that array of skills. So obviously we teach you the projects and you make those, but after the course, having that kind of, array of skills, there's just so many possibilities for what you can make. I'll talk a little bit about how the marking works. So our marking is done by our mentors. The mentors get together before every kind of marking session and have what's called a standardization meeting where we make sure that everybody is on the same page, what to mark for what. And we kind of, so before you do any project, you'll have access to your marking criteria. So for example, if we take a project, like this ring, for example, we might say, okay, you're going to get a mark out of 5 for the central claw setting. You'll get a mark out of 10 for all the tube settings around the edge. You'll get a mark out of 5 for the final finish and polish, and so on and so forth. So you'll have access to all of this information before you start making your piece, so you know what you're going to be marked on. And then when the tutors get your work, they will give you the marks, and then they'll give you the feedback. So they'll say, you know, you got this out of 5 for this, and what you would need to get an extra mark is just to kind of work on this or that. So the marking is not about kind of making you feel bad about the work at all. In fact, it should be the opposite. It should be encouraging, supportive, and just giving you the next thing to work on to help push and improve your skills to the next level. We very much kind of want the diplomas to be a supportive place. We want everyone to pass. And I think if you show up and you do the work and you take on the feedback, you know, my experience is that you will pass. The only people generally that don't are people that for whatever reason are not able to kind of like finish the course, which is a very, very small percentage of people. And sometimes they just choose to kind of do it in their own time because they have lifetime access to it. So we are definitely here to support you and set you up for success. And it is all about kind of that encouragement and just giving you that feedback to move you forward. Like I said, before you send the work in at the end of each term, of course you get your work back. It does take us a little bit of time to go through the process of having it with your mentor and coming back to the workshop and getting it back to you, but you will always get your work back. So you'll have that portfolio and you can sell those pieces. I think sometimes people forget that, yes, there are costs involved in the diploma and the materials and things, but you have assets at the end that you can sell to help fund and support it. And as I mentioned before, and a lot of students have done this, have set themselves the task to kind of pay for the diploma as they go. You can do an 18-month payment plan and, decide that, okay, every month we're going to make and sell the pieces that are going to pay for it. And I know quite a few students who've done it that way, and it's been very successful for them. So the diploma is for intermediate level jewelers looking to upskill and have a fun year together. And the question I always ask people thinking about signing up for one of these courses is just, what are your goals? Where do you want to be in a year's time? Do you want to spend time developing your skills? Do you want to have that, kind of whole access to a new world, if you like, of jewelry making and possibilities for your clients? And even when you go back to doing sort of more basic things after you've got this technical level, your production time will be a lot quicker. It will do incredible things to help grow your business and your manufacturing skills. So the course fees are the same as they have always been. So they are £2,978 for the full course, which includes all the support, all the professionally filmed courses, the notes, kind of all the things we talked about. And if you sign up for an 18-month payment plan, it is £167 monthly. The materials fee is just over £1,000, and that includes all your silver and also quite a bit of gold, gemstones, all those kind of things for making all of these pieces. And of course, once you finish making them, your work should be worth quite a lot more than the materials that you put into it. So the total for everything is just over £4,000. And like I said, the best way for most people is to join the 18-month payment plan. This does end on the 9th of February, so there's not a lot of time if you're going to go for this option. And we recommend signing up early anyway if you would like a material kit, just so we can make sure that we save you one. So there's an option to do the course only and buy your own materials, or if you choose to buy the material kit at the same time for the 18-month payment plan, it is £227 per month. And yes, we hope you'll be making more than that back from all of these skills that you'll learn, and definitely that is achievable for you. But yeah, like I said, make sure you get in there if you would like to get a place. We do kind of cap off our places once our mentors are all full and our mentor teams are all full. We do have spaces at the moment, but we never quite know when they're going to run out, and we don't like people to have it in their mind that they're going to do it, and then we sort of say, sorry, there's not any more availability this year. And if you're interested, you can go ahead and enroll on the link Anna will pop in the chat. Yeah, and if you need any more information from us, you can book a discovery call to talk to us individually if there's something specific about your situation that you would like to do. We always love hearing from you. So we're also on, social media and all the platforms. So if you just have like a quick question, but you don't want to book a discovery call, you can drop me a message, or you can email me, jessica@jewellersacademy.com, and I should be able to help. I just wanted to show you a little bit of our students' work from their final projects from previous years. So here are some a beautiful ring, beautiful pair of earrings. We've got K and Boo in there. So it's really nice to see what people do after they've learned all those skills and kind of take on their own projects. So these are just a few of them. Beautiful lighthouse pendant. It's kind of like a swivel one that twists round. And again, she's used some K and Boo, some gold, some real beautiful kind of texture and different pieces in there. Someone's gone for a different take on the Marquise pendant with some flush settings at the side, really beautiful, and some earrings. Some really intricate wire work as well, kind of these bracelets and lots of stone setting on the right with the beautiful collection. You can see how people have made a 3-piece collection based on, something that they just really loved about the course. So that person liked collet setting, I can tell. And just a few more pieces. We have loads of these, but I just wanted to include a few in to just give you some inspiration and be like, this is all done from students on this course, and they are no different to you. Everyone starts at a slightly different level, but sometimes we find that people that start at less experience actually end up having better pieces because they've just really gone for it. So whatever level you're at, please don't feel that you're not good enough. If you feel like you've got the things that you need in order to enroll on this diploma, then we're really here to support you. Marquetta didn't make the lighthouse pendant, it just says in the chat, but she did make a similar kind of swivel pendant on the retreat. So I totally understand where that comes from. Um, but no, her work is a lot more kind of sea. Well, I guess Lighthouse is quite sea themed. So, but yeah, it wasn't her one. And also, I'd encourage you guys to watch the Jewelers Retreat, especially if you're kind of thinking about joining and you'd like to know a bit more about the community. This is a TV show that we made. It's on our YouTube channel. It's so much fun to watch. If you've not seen it already, I definitely encourage you to have a look. We have 2 seasons now. Season 1 was filmed a few years ago and is actually with students from our diploma in silver jewelry, and season 2 was filmed this last year and came out just before Christmas, and is filmed with students from our advanced jewelry diploma. So it gives you an idea, and some of the mentors are in it. So it gives you an idea of our community and how we work together, and just it's a wonderful way to celebrate some of our students as well. So definitely Anna's popped the link in the chat so you can check it out if you like. And yeah, whichever way you choose to kind of move forward with your jewelry making, I can't wait to work together with you guys to create your future in jewelry. I think I just want to share that anything is possible, because when I first started making jewelry, that wasn't always the message that I got. And sometimes I felt like, certain people could do it, but it wasn't really for me because I didn't have the lineage or whatever. I didn't, I just was someone who had no idea what I was doing until somebody showed me. And then I was like, oh, now I have a slight idea. And then that kind of just carried on over the years until I felt confident in different areas. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope this session was useful. I hope it's given you the information you need to work out if you want to join us or not. And for those of you who are joining us, I hope it has excited you and kind of got you ready for all these incredible things that we are going to learn. And yeah, I'll take some questions now if anybody has any. Great, Anna's going to be sharing the questions. So Natalie said, does a pendant motor make that much of a difference over a Dremel? Oh, yes, I think it does. For a few reasons. So a Dremel is great for kind of doing like the initial polishing and bits and pieces like that. But one of the things that we use the pendant motor for is the stone setting. And that's where it kind of really changes things, because the Dremel is kind of like one speed, and it's great, but it can get a little bit crude when you want to do some kind of more specific things. So for example, the most important use, I'd say, of the pendant motor in this course is for the collet setting weeks, where you need a hammer handpiece to be able to set the stones. And this is a really kind of good technique to learn how to set these kind of stones as well. So a hammer handpiece is a piece that it's kind of like a pneumatic drill type thing that kind of goes like this, or a woodpecker. So that goes into the pendant motor. And as far as I know, there isn't an alternative for a Dremel. And so that will actually help you set those stones, which is, you can do it by hand, but it is a lot more challenging to do by hand. And particularly if you're doing multiples of them, you would usually want to learn how to do it in that way. So Dremels are great, but it doesn't have the same functionality, especially when you get into more intricate stone settings. And if you were to ever to go on to like the advanced diploma and do things like pave settings and all those kind of things, it's just a much more refined tool, and gives you a lot more options. So I know it cost money to get a pendant motor, but it's honestly one of those tools that once you have it, everyone who I know who has one says, I wish I bought it earlier. Nobody's like, oh, I wish I hadn't spent the money on that. It just is such an everyday tool, and it will make everything that you do so much easier. And yes, you will need a hammer hand piece for the stone setting. So yeah, I know it's a bit of an investment, but it is really worth it. And again, for me, it's not just about the course, it's about all the projects that you can make afterwards for your customers. So it really is an investment in in the future of your jewelry business. If you don't have those tools, there's so many things that you can't do, or you do very, very slowly, and then it's going to cost so much for the customer and you to be able to do them. Alex says, do the hammer hand pieces only fit the Fordham? I have an off-brand pendant motor. We do have actually a guide to this, Alex, and there probably is a hammer hand piece for the pendant motor that you have. So yeah, Anna's posted, because there was a whole thing when when we started doing this, and there's lots of different pendant motors and lots of different hand pieces, and it's like making sure you get the right one for each one. So we've got a quite detailed article there, which Anna has posted. But also, if you've got a pendant motor, definitely look at the manufacturer and check with them, because I'm sure they will have a hammer hand piece that fits with them, because it's used so much in stone setting. It's one of the main tools that jewelers will use. Question, is there much written work for the assessment? No, there isn't. Yay. So one of the things we're really passionate about is making this a bench-based course where it is all about just making stuff. Because, most of us have done a degree if we wanted to do one. And if we didn't, we haven't. And we don't really want to do another one again right now. But we want to learn to make specific things that we can make and sell and enjoy. So there is very little written work. Sometimes we'll ask you to complete like a form, or, do little bits and pieces there, but it really is totally minimal. It's all about those practical skills, the practical jewelry making. And, if you go on to work in the industry, or perhaps if you're already working in the industry, but you want to get jobs, people will always ask you to show your portfolio, show me what you've made, show me your technical skills. They will never usually say, show me this degree, or show me this diploma, or show me this certificate, or show me this essay, because, people buy things that they see and they want. They're not that interested in, all the kind of written side of it, generally speaking, in jewelry making. So we kind of follow that as well. Brilliant. Anna said, so that's all the questions. The rest were answered in the chat. But if you think of any questions afterwards, or if in any way we missed anything, like I said, we really want to answer them. So feel free to drop us a message anytime. And I look forward to seeing some of you guys on the Fine Diploma. And I can't wait. I kind of can't wait till September already, even though we just started the year. And you can feel free to drop us a message anytime at contact@Jewelers Academy. And yes, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for listening, and we'll speak very soon. Alrighty, bye for now.